So UC Davis at the Olive Center there did a research study where they took a lot of olive oil, like 30 different oils, and sent them to an independent third-party lab in Australia. Some were Californian oil, some were imported. Most of them were imported. They sent them to a lab in Australia, and the results came back that essentially 70% of the oils that were tested back then were not extra virgin at all.
I'm Christy Code Red, and you're listening to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle, where we believe food holds the power to heal or poison, and we believe our society has been misled regarding proper nutrition and weight loss. You're in the right place if you're looking for some straight up truth, because I'm here to shed light on the lies and brainwashing that has taken place over the past 5 decades. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I'm Christy Code Red. Thank you for being here. I'm thinking about you. How are you doing? Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, vacations. Are you getting through all of it unscathed? Because it's my job as your coach to make sure that you learn how to navigate the food celebrations of life without gaining your weight back. And yes, it can be done. It is not prison. It is absolutely very, very doable to live the Code Red lifestyle. But we don't use food as a punishment. We don't use food as a reward. So many things in our society are centered around food. And the problem, that is not even the problem. The problem is that we just consume copious amounts of sugar and way, way, way too much processed chemical crap. And our bodies can't handle it. So what does it do? It bioaccumulates body fat. And we get real sick and fat, and it's terrible. But I'm thinking about you guys all the time, just wondering how you're doing and what I can do to help you. So today's interview, I think you're really going to love. I know I love talking to this guy. And this is the owner of Fresh Pressed Olive Oil, TJ. And it's really, really very, very interesting when you hear the truth and lies about olive oil. Things that none of us I didn't even know. And once you know, you can't unknow. And it was just a really super, super interesting interview that I know you're going to love. TJ's so genuine, so nice, and very easy to understand, especially someone who is so knowledgeable in this area. But yet he dumbs it down for me. Anyway, he dumbed it down for me a little bit so I can understand what he's talking about. And I think that you're going to love us because this is such a huge Code Red lifestyle is a high-fat lifestyle, high-fat, low-carb lifestyle. And we want to get good quality fat. We want to get it from olive oil. But there are certain olive oils. I'm not going to say anything. I'll let you listen to the interview. It's really awesome. Thank you for being on here. Have a good one. And thank you for listening. Welcome, everybody. Christy Code Red here, author, entrepreneur, retired professional boxer. How's everybody doing today? Good. Listen, guys, I have got a guest on with me right now that I think you're going to find to be unusual, not because it's the guest, but because of what he does, because none of us think about this certain subject that we're going to talk about. But once you know, you cannot unknow, guys, seriously. So I think it's really important that we educate our rebels and people that are watching and listening right now, that you understand, like, whoa, because I'm telling you, when I heard this for the first time, I was completely shocked. I had no idea that this was taking place and that this was kind of and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But let me introduce TJ. TJ, thank you so much for coming on here and talking to all of us right now.
Hey, it is such a pleasure. I am really just honored and blessed. It feels just so blessed to be here. I'm such a huge fan. I've gone through the Code Red Challenge myself with my wife, and I am just like super proud and excited to be here. I'm such a big fan of what you and your sister and your company, stand for, and your principles, and super excited to have an opportunity to talk with you all.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, I'm going to let TJ introduce himself because I will screw it up. And purposely, before we started talking, I did not talk to TJ. I don't like talking to guests ahead of time because I want it to be real and authentic. Look, there's a reason why we are ranked so high. If you're listening to this on the podcast or Facebook or whatever's going on, there's a reason. It's because of the authenticity of me and Carrie and the people that we have. And I want you to just be in on this conversation. So TJ, please introduce yourself to the listeners and the viewers so that we know what you do and why you're even on this podcast.
Well, why I'm on the podcast? We could start back a little bit. Last year, I saw you in Nashville on the ClickFunnels stage, and I was so impressed by your story and the lives that Code Red is changing. I was just so impressed. I'm like, this lady is on fire, and I love everything that she stands for, the real food, the sleep. I was like, this lady, like, I just love her. And fast forward about 6 months later, and I walked up to you at an event we were in Austin, I think, at Paleo FX or KetoCon, one or the other. And I walked up to you carrying a bottle of olive oil. And you're like, who is this guy who's like schlepping a bottle of olive oil? But my goal was to change your life with one taste. And so I walked up to you and Carrie, kind of sheepishly, along with my wife, Megan, who is my biggest ambassador, and shared with you a simple taste of fresh olive oil. And you, I believe, had never tasted fresh olive oil before. Like most Americans, we don't know what fresh olive oil tastes like. We're very familiar with great apples and great oranges and how to select the best and which ones are the best and the sweetest. But most olive oil in the U.S. is subpar. So anyway, I walked up. I said, "Hi, my name is TJ Robinson. I'm the olive oil hunter." You're like, what? The olive oil hunter? Yeah, I'm like, I'm the olive oil hunter. You're like, what is that? I'm like, well, I'm this guy who travels around the globe. I'm part olive oil sommelier. I'm part olive oil concierge. And what I do, I work with boutique family producers all around the world at the peak of freshness and harvest time, because that's different in the Northern Hemisphere and Southern. And I work with those families to curate a trio of fresh oils every quarter. So I have a club called the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club. Quite a few rebels are members, very blessed and happy to have them. But I'm basically, I take out all the middlemen in the middle and consumers and all, get basically direct from the farmer, direct to the club member. So anyway, I'm TJ Robinson, the olive oil hunter.
Well, this is just wonderful. Now, Rebels, listen, you might be watching and listening and you're like, why on earth would we be talking about this? Because things are not like you think they are. In fact, the olive oil that you get in traditional supermarkets and places, it isn't what it seems. And when I heard this from TJ and Megan, I just about fell over. TJ, tell us, what is the deal with the olive oil that you can get at Costco and Walmart and Target off the stores of off the shelves of most stores versus what you bring us?
Oh, that's such a great question because there's a lot of layers to it. But essentially, there's olive oil that's produced as a bulk commodity product that is sold at a very low price point. And then there's artisanal boutique olive oil that's from a single estate. So there's a big level of control that happens, and we can go into that later, and how to taste your olive oil at home to say whether it's real olive oil or not, to help educate your palate and give some shopping tips and all that sort of thing. So definitely, we'll go into that later in the interview. But essentially, what's happened in the U.S., as I explained, I didn't really know, and most people don't know. I'm a Southern boy from Asheville, North Carolina. I didn't have an olive tree in my yard growing up. I had no idea what a good fresh olive oil tastes like. Back in, I'd say about 2004, when I started the club, we were growing about 3% of our olives in the U.S. Of our consumption. So 97% was being imported. And along with that, there was a lot of fraud. There was a lot of mislabeling in olive oil. So UC Davis at the Olive Center there did a research study where they took a lot of olive oil, like 30 different oils, and sent them to an independent third-party lab in Australia. Some were Californian oil, some were imported. Most of them were imported. They sent them to a lab in Australia, and the results came back that essentially 70% of the oils that were tested back then were not extra virgin at all. So they failed two particular tests. When a olive oil is being assessed by professional tasters, they look for two things. One, they look for the organoleptic, which is the taste profile, and we can talk about that again later. And two, they look at the chemistry. So some of them would fail on, so essentially Americans had been buying and have been buying for a lot of decades olive oil that's misrepresented. So it's a low quality with lower health promoting benefits. We can go on and on about that, but essentially you're buying a bulk commodity product versus an artisanal product with a lot of love. I mean, you've probably bought olive oil in a clear bottle, and it was disguised looked like Italian. It had the Italian flag on it maybe. But when you look at the back, it says it's from 8 different countries of origin when you actually read the label. And there's not enough care and love that goes into that product. Where if you're buying a single estate oil, you know the family that produced it, you know that's their pride and joy. And that's what, they share with, for example, the club members. So anyway, I hope I didn't.
That was fantastic. Yeah. Now, on the Code Red lifestyle, we keep things simple, but we do eliminate the foods and products that cause inflammation. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you saying that a lot of the oil that we get in the United States from the big box stores, they are maybe cut or are diluted down with maybe a high inflammatory oil like safflower oil or canola oil or soybean oil?
Yes, sadly, that's happened. America has gotten better. We were officially dubbed like the dumping ground for really bad oil because most consumers in the U.S. had no idea what really great olive oil tasted like, authentic olive oil tasted like. So we were, part of the scheme. And olive oil, this whole expose on olive oil started with an article in the the New Yorker, that was like the slippery business of olive oil. And evidently Tom Mueller, who went on to write a great book called Extra Virginity, which is a great expose on the fraud in olive oil. It really dates back to the time of Romans. Like they were, this has been something that's been going on for a long time. Now the American bulk bottlers are trying to do a better job. I've noticed they're switching more to dark glass, which helps protect the oil. The quality of the oil itself is getting a little higher. So I think things are changing and evolving, but it's best to have independently certified, third-party certified as extra virgin olive oil and consuming it when it's fresh. So can I talk just a second about inflammation? Because I know that's a very big deal for you guys. So one of the very special things with fresh olive oil are these very powerful antioxidants. So antioxidants, the very important one, or one of them, are these polyphenols. They're referred to. It's this collection of polyphenols. And these polyphenols are very high anti-inflammatory properties, have very high anti-inflammatory properties. So there was this guy, this research scientist who was actually studying ibuprofen. He's a scientist who works in that field in the lab and was visiting Sicily, and he tasted a fresh olive oil, and it gave him the sensation in the mouth and in the throat of ibuprofen when he tasted it in the lab. So he had this kind of aha moment where he took this fresh oil back to the US on the airplane with him, and he decided to see if there was a compound in fresh olive oil that was akin to ibuprofen. Smart guy. There was, in fact. So people with arthritis, I mean, I know you've been beat up, arthritis, you cools arthritis, gut inflammation, brain health. I mean, you can go on and on about joints and all that sort of stuff. But these compounds, these special polyphenols they dissipate in the first 6 months after pressing by 50%. Most Americans had never ever heard of high polyphenol olive oil, which is what we sell, is fairly high in polyphenols. And two, it's very fresh. Because these polyphenols are so special, and they're in God's delivery system, we'll say, because it's perfectly wrapped, enrobed with the fat. These inflammation fighters, these polyphenols are just amazing for your health. And so that there's a lot of discoveries going on related to that, which is super cool.
I've been to Europe 9 times and several times to Italy, but people think that I have visited all kinds of countries in Europe that have olive making equipment, and it is very, very, very difficult. Now, some people have modernized, even in Europe, some of those have modernized the mechanism, the way that they make, but it's extremely difficult to make olive oil. Now, you're saying that you actually go to those family farms. I mean, you're going right to the source of the farmer. You're going right to the farmer.
That's right. That's right. So essentially, I had my first aha moment in Sicily in about 2004. I was working as a food journalist and was invited to a harvest party, an olive oil harvest party. I'm like, sign me up. I don't know what that is, but sign me up. So anyway, I go and I'm hanging out with Matteo and his family in this, beautiful, spot overlooking the sea. And the family, we collected the olives all day and we went to the mill in the afternoon and I tasted fresh oil and my life totally changed. Like that just did it for me. I was like, this is my passion. There's something so special about this product. And so I brought it back to my friends and family, and they were all, and chef friends. My background is a professional chef. So that's kind of how I got my start in food as a professional chef and wine taster and food writer and wine writer. So I have this innate love for connecting with people in these cultures and trying to understand, this important role of olive oil in their culture and in their family history, and why they're so protective of it. But so when I tasted the fresh oil, I knew it was game over.
That's just incredible. So talk to us about the freshness. So something I learned from you was actually olive oil does not get better like wine. Wine's like, oh, it gets better with time. That is not true with olive oil.
Yes. People, I think, lump them together because they're typically grown in the same areas for whatever reason. And so olives are a fruit, and fresh fruit juice you have to think of fresh olive oil as a fresh fruit juice. So for olives, and just speaking about control and those sort of things. So olives, when they're picked, they're very temperamental. So it's a race from the moment you pluck it from the tree to it's pressed into oil. So a lot of things can happen during that process that deteriorate and make the oil defective or subpar. So essentially, what I look for are small family farmers. They're people who have a lot of care and a lot of love. There's actually a guide in Italy. It's an Italian guide called Flo Sole, and they rank the top 400 producers in the world each year. And this guide, they have this coveted group of the Flo Sole top 20. These are the top 20 scoring on the 100-point scale, the top 20 scoring farms of the year. And they go to Rome. It's kind of like winning the Oscars of the olive oil world because these people are super serious about what they do. They go and they win these awards, this Flo Sole top 20. They select the best of the year, and they go to Rome and win their award. In fact, when I was at, I think it was Paleo FX or KetoCon, I was sampling my 2 most recent trios. And actually, out of the 6 oils that were on the table, 5 of those farms were in the Flo Sole top 20 winners. So these are really just the most passionate people when it comes to olive oil. They care for the trees properly. They get them, they harvest them beautifully. They rush them to the mill. They have superior machinery that keeps oxidation from happening when they're being pressed, because that keeps these bright flavors. And I know you've tasted the oil, so like it's green and vibrant. So yeah, that's the people I seek out. And I do that 4 times a year. So I do 2 trips to the Mediterranean each year. I do an Italian and Greek harvest. And then a few months later, I work the Spanish and Portuguese harvest. And then I use the opposite hemispheres. I go to the southern hemisphere in the height of their growing season, because olives are harvested once a year. And again, they're beautiful fruit. But those trips take me to Chile and Argentina. And then after that, I go on to Australia and New Zealand.
It's just incredible. It's amazing to me how you really go to these places yourself and you look at it yourself. That is, and you might be wondering, why is Code Red? What the heck do we have to do with this? Well, we are so happy that we teamed up with TJ and Megan and Fresh Press Olive Oil to bring you CodeRedOliveOil.com. If you get your olive oil through CodeRedOliveOil.com, not only does a portion of that sale go back to Code Red, and I'm always transparent and honest with you guys getting a membership actually helps Code Red stay in business. It helps us develop new products. It helps keep the doors open and pay the bills. But you also get Megan and TJ, and I don't know which one of you, maybe both of you, I don't know what. Do you guys provide our rebels with recipes with a PDF of recipes? That's incredible. I think one of you guys said one time to Carrie, you said, I don't know, maybe it was Megan, I don't know why people are still buying their salad dressings in the store.
Yes. I mean, most, basically, and you're so good with fats, Christy, you could talk about the health side of fats and why you gravitate, more toward wonderful, healthful fats like that have health promoting properties. So, if you want to expand on why you love to recommend olive oil in general, I'd love to hear that too.
Well, just a second. I'm getting ready to cough.
That's okay.
I just sucked in.
That's okay.
I sucked in the wrong hole.
No problem.
I've done another podcast, a whole other podcast on the benefits of fat. You guys, I believe that is awesome. The number 2 podcast. The second biggest lie in weight loss is the benefits of fat, or the biggest lie would be that you have to eat low fat. Well, we absolutely do not believe in that. So if you do go through CodeRedOliveOil.com, you are going to get a bonus. Now, when you tell us a little bit about the membership, I'm telling you, it's an exciting day around our house when our box shows up from you guys.
Oh, that's so cool. So yes, really and Megan, my wife, is on the Code Red boards. As I mentioned, we've done the challenges. So we see people's comments, which is just very enlightening to see that, because I think what a lot of rebels are doing, they're using the olive oil as kind of the backbone of their healthy cooking. So they are using the oil kind of how I train people to use my style of oil as a flavor enhancer. So I like to think of like standard bulk oil made from really ripe olives with a very high yield of oil, which has low flavor qualities. I like to think of those as dried herbs. And that's what most people are used to in tasting olive oil. Think of like standard bulk olive oils like dried herbs. Well, fresh pressed olive oil, on the other hand, is more like fresh herbs. So people are topping their food with it to help their macros. People are making salad dressings. You're the first person we've ever done a special PDF recipe for. I think after Megan going through the challenge, she's like, these are some recipes where people commonly consume really crappy oils that are horrible for your body, that are GMO and that have inflammatory properties. And she's like, Christy and Carrie, and their mission is so important. And I really think this will help the rebels start to use the product too and understand where they can. So we did a marinade in the PDF. That's kind of an all-purpose marinade, I believe. We did a pesto, which was great over like zucchini noodles or even, roasted vegetables. We did Megan's charred broccoli recipe, which is just, there's like a simple and a complex version, because I know you guys like to eat very simply and whole food, and we're right with you there. And in addition, there's a dressing guide. So making your own vinaigrettes, getting away from the bottled vinaigrettes, which have like sugar and added sugar and all these binders. And there's something so simple about just putting the ratio of a third vinegar, 2/3 olive oil, placing it in a small bottle with a little herbs, a little mustard, a little garlic, whatever you're in the mood for, shake it up. And that just freshness, it actually helps your body absorb more of the nutrients. And I'm probably preaching to the wrong crowd here, because these guys already know that. But essentially, you get more vitamins. The fat profile in olive oil, really great olive oil, is very much akin to human breast milk. So our bodies are meant to receive this very special ratio of fat in a very unique way. So, and people don't really discuss that a whole lot, but as more and more research comes out on olive oil and polyphenols, and all those health promoting qualities, there's just more and more great data. So we're super happy with that.
Well, I think it's interesting that you said that about the quality of your olive oil, because when I use a low grade olive oil from a box store or something off that hasn't been handled with so much love and the quality of fresh press, I have to add things. I put it on, but I have to add salt and herbs and spices. But when I use one of yours, I don't. The flavor is incredible. So that doesn't surprise you. Now it makes sense. I never heard anybody explain it to me. I just thought, it's just better, but that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, when you're cooking, you can use the olive. So there's a few myths around olive oil. One is you can't cook with it. That is completely false. Now, I will preface that by saying the higher the level of the polyphenols in the oil, those are antioxidants. Those polyphenols actually protect the oil when it's being heated. So I have a couple research studies I can send to you based on the stability of olive oil when cooking with it and how it performs over time. And it actually won out against most oils out there. So I'll send that to you. I know you'd love to read all about, how stable it is to actually cook with it. And from traveling in these countries, you see these women and men that are in their 90s. And if they're in the Mediterranean, they've only been cooking with olive oil forever. So yes, you can cook with it. Yes, you can use it as a sauce. So it's very versatile in the kitchen, and everybody will kind of find their own favorite ways. Like I have someone who canceled recently who said, we just don't eat enough bread to go through your bottle of olive oil. I'm like, give me her number. I got to call her. Like, I don't even eat bread. Like, and I go through a bottle in no time because it's, just such a flavor enhancer.
Oh, goodness gracious. Look, come on. I know we go through our bottles. So it's like I said, it's a happy day when we get our order. And when you go through coderedoliveoil.com to get TJ and Megan's hand selected olive oil, you are going to get every quarter. Does everybody know what a quarter is? That's every 3 months is a quarter. Every 3 months, you're going to get 3 bottles of olive oil, and they're always different. That's what makes it so exciting. And I don't want to call it the newsletter. What's that thing that you
call it
the newsletter?
Yeah, I call it the pressing report. So I'll just hold it up for you guys. Yeah. So when I travel, I land and I taste about 100 oils when I get to a country right at the moment. And olives are very much, so in Italy alone, there are 550 olive varieties in Italy alone. Some of them for table fruit, such as cured olives. Some of them are for making oil. Some of them can be used for both. Well, so my challenge is finding the places, the microclimates that have very special fruit that year, because from the best, most beautiful fruit, you can make the best oil if you have the right miller and the right equipment. So I taste about 100 oils. I say, this farm's got potential. that farm's got potential. Okay, let's go. Let's visit them. So there's always a mild, a medium, and a bold in every trio. There are two sizes to the club. There's a 250 ml. And if you're Code Red, you probably should go for the large bottle because you can add a lot of good healthy fats. But this size, you get 3 bottles from 3 different producers. It is $99 a quarter for the trio, and it comes with the pressing report. I can show you more of that. And then there's this size, which is 500 ml, and this is $139 a quarter. Now, what are you paying for? Like, that's a lot compared to store-bought olive oil. So you're paying for me to go there. You're paying for really green fruit. So when you harvest olives that are super green, they have about 10% yield, but they're very high in polyphenols, antioxidants, and flavor. So if you were to take the same olive and let it hang on the tree for an extra month or so, it'll go completely black, and you could potentially get up to 30% oil out of that fruit, which you then can sell in bulk to a mass producer. But there are these farmers where crazy people like me come along and say, hey, I'll pay you top dollar. I want you to get that fruit off the tree when it's 1/3 as valuable as it would be if you were to leave it hang there. But, there's so many people rebelling against the big system of olive oil that they want to do something special with their trees. They don't want to sell to the co-ops anymore. So what they do, they produce single estate olive oil. So I taste, I evaluate, I make blends to make that mild, medium, and bold. So those olive varieties we talked about earlier, some of them will be single varietal olive oils, like this one's only one varietal in it, one olive variety. And there will be others that are actually a blend of olives because I use my background as a chef and as a professional taster to create a blend and harmony in the olive oil. So there's always, like I said, a mild, medium, and bold, and I rush them to the airport, and I place them on a jet, and I fly them directly back to the U.S. So I work with an amazing air cargo company that helps me move all my oils rapidly from country of origin, from the grove, direct to the U.S. I get through customs, I get through FDA, I get it immediately to my club member. So there's no middleman between me at the farm supervising every little step, low yield fruit. Every bottle has a harvest date on it, and we could, if you want to go through some shopping tips, I'd be happy to give you a few for people who can't, that it's not accessible to club for them or that sort of thing. I'd be happy to go through some shopping tips if you like.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we really make a note here of the time. Time is of the essence, you guys. Time is of the essence, and TJ puts so much effort into getting this olive oil directly back to the people as quick as possible. It's not good for it to sit around. And another thing I wanted to bring up was, with Code Red Rebels, we eat 2 meals a day. We don't snack all day long. We eat 2 high-fat meals a day. And if you're going to eat only 2 meals a day, and you're not going to snack all day long, you're not going to do the typical American 3 meals and 2 snacks that have contributed to why we're so sick and fat. If you're going to do it the Code Red way, you really want to make sure that your stuff is good quality, that everything counts. My word, why wouldn't you want to put the good stuff in your body? But I would love to hear some shopping tips from you, TJ. Totally.
Absolutely. Just to add what you were saying there, speaking of studies, and there's so much being devoted to olive oil and the health benefits. But one of the important things that is being discovered is the very high level of satiety of olive oil. Specifically, high polyphenol fresh olive oil has a very, very high level of satiety. So that means it's deeply satisfying to the core. It keeps you feeling full and healthy longer. So I don't know if you've tested that at all, or when you're doing like a fast, trying just to drink a little olive oil to help you extend your fast or anything like that. But in your experience, have you found when you add more olive oil to your food, it keeps you feeling fuller longer?
Well, for Code Red, we don't touch too much on fasting, although I do that in my maintenance group. But it absolutely does when not only does it massively enhance the flavor, but absolutely it keeps you long. And that's one of the major benefits of fat, of good quality fat in general, is that keeps you fuller for longer. It helps your hair and nails grow. It helps balance hormones. It helps you sleep, gives you energy, so
Yes.
many benefits. But getting a good quality, not the crap from a big box store, is key. And it's going to even enhance that even further.
Yeah, so shopping tips. First thing I have like 3 minutes to go through how to
Oh,
taste your
as
olive
much time as
oil.
you
I
need.
don't want to. I don't know
Much
exactly how
time as
much
you
time we
need. Go
have, but
ahead.
I'd love to talk to your folks about how to taste the olive oil they have at home, so they can assess it. And this is what I invite people to do when they join the club. I have a very special offer for Code Red that your Code Red Rebels can join the club for $1. When they join the club for $1, they get a full size sample bottle that's this size or this size for $1. The bottle is complimentary on me. It's a $1 shipping charge that you guys help offset, and you'll get your PDF with your recipes in it. So you get that to keep. And then, so ideally, you pull the olive oil out of your pantry and taste it next to your sample. So I use, you can use, and I'm holding this up for the camera for people that are listening. It's a little harder, but it's a 3-ounce white Solo cup. And I have about a tablespoon of olive oil in the bottom. It's like this beautiful green color of olive oil. And you could use an espresso cup. You could use a small wine glass could work, a shot glass, but essentially put about a tablespoon. So I want your oil from your pantry, and I want the fresh pressed olive oil in 2 cups. You've got 2 cups. So when you actually, the first step of an olive oil, so I'll teach you from the professional taster standpoint, how do we assess olive oil? So first, in the cup, we place the cup in the palm of our hand, and we do that because it warms the oil. So we swirl the oil around, and before we ever taste the oil, step 1 is to smell the oil, because when we smell the oil, this smells like I've been in a garden. It smells like I'm at an olive grove. This makes me so happy. But essentially, step 1 is looking for defects. So was the fruit sitting in the sun? Was the fruit, was it too long, or was it damaged between the field and where they pressed it? See, most of the farms I work with, they have their mill on their own farm. So they have complete control. They don't have to leave it, to the next day to press. It's literally hours by the time it's from the tree to transformed into olive oil. So I'm looking for defects. My nose is professionally trained to look for if the tanks were dirty, if the machinery wasn't clean, if the temperature was too high. Because if you heat the olives when you're making the olive oil, you get more oil to sell, but the oil quality gets lower. So there's a lot of defects you can find in the oil. Now, this oil is independently certified. It's a club selection. It's third-party certified to be 100% extra virgin. It's sent through the tasting panel at the lab, and also the chemistry panel to have that. So all of our oils come with that certification. But so we smell it. We make sure it's great. We look for fruitiness. And when I say fruitiness, I think of things like green banana, fresh cut grass, arugula. I think of very green associations. I want it to smell fresh, like a fresh herb versus a dried herb. Like I want it to smell like I'm in a garden, essentially. So that's what the fresh pressed olive oil smells like. So that's step 1, smell.
I love it. That's interesting.
Step 2, I actually take a small taste, and I'm looking for 2 things when I taste the olive oil. I'm looking for bitterness. Why bitterness? And that's such a foreign, taste for us. We like bitter coffee, we like bitter chocolate, but bitter olive oil, we're not really accustomed to that. But what that tells you is the green, it's from very green fruit. So when it's from green fruit, higher levels of antioxidants, polyphenols, and health promoting qualities, but that bitterness of the green fruit you'll actually taste. So you want your olive oil to be bitter. And when I say bitter, I think of like overbrewed green tea, or walnut skin, or just things that are bitter, arugula, for example. And then the third thing I'm looking for is spiciness. Now, why spiciness? Most people have never tasted spicy, fresh olive oil. Well, again, it's the polyphenols. And when you taste that, it'll sometimes tickle your throat a little bit. And some Tuscans will say, because they like early harvest oils in Tuscany as well, they'll say, is that a 1 cough oil, a 2 cough oil, or a 3 cough oil? So your olive oil should actually make you cough, not really, but give you like a real tingle in the throat. And if it's hyper fresh, you may cough a little bit. So step 1, smell. Step 2, I take maybe if I put a tablespoon in my cup, I probably have a teaspoon in my mouth right now, just kind of chewing it a little bit. It's quite bitter, but in a beautiful way. It's very green. It's got like arugula and watercress and green banana. There, I swallowed it. There's the pepperiness hitting me. It's like a tingle. It's like a tingle in the back of your throat. And a lot of this dissipates when it's on food. So if you don't like spicy and bitter, pair it with arugula or use it in a vinaigrette. Or when your roast vegetables come out of the oven, your Brussels sprouts or your broccoli, dress it, kind of toss it with that fresh oil and let that be the flavor component. Because I know, like, again, a big fan. I have your cookbook right here. But you love simple cooking. And I think that's what is so important in your protocol and your mission is that simple cooking, you have to focus on ingredients, right? So you buy less ingredients. You don't buy 25 ingredients. You buy 5 stellar ingredients. So that's the key. And that's what you talk about. I mean, and so I'm all about it. And really the olive oil itself, it really can be an important flavor component in most things, whether it's drizzled over a soup or whether it's, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I got carried away.
Well, I know that I love it. I could listen to you all day long. I know that I've learned to put olive oil on everything, and I've just learned it. And that's how we just go through. But if you are truly utilizing the recipes that come with your Code Red olive oil.com, if you go through us and you're truly, guys, you're going to go through your oils, and it works out every time. For Miles and I, we just finished up our last bottle when our new shipment comes in. And I had something else I wanted to I thought it was interesting because as I'm talking to you, and I don't want to go into the details of this, I just kind of find it, I'm kind of going in my mind, adding up the costs to you and Megan to do what you do. And just shipping alone is a major cost for Code Red. Shipping has gotten absolutely out of this world. And I know Code Red spends anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 a week on shipping costs. And I know that it's in the way that you have the olive oil packaged up. It is not cheap to ship, and it's not cheap to travel. It's not cheap to get Ubers. It's not cheap to transfer. It's not cheap for jets to fly your, all that stuff adds up. And the price that, I mean, I'm adding it up in my head and I'm like going, boy, this is truly a labor of love. You guys, I'm sure that the lights are, the light bill's getting paid in your house. However, ain't nobody probably getting rich. It's really just, it's a labor of love what you're doing for all of us.
It is. It's very much a passion. I met these small family farmers, and they don't have much access to the American market, but they have this beautiful product that's typically only shared locally. So what most producers will do, they'll produce a very small batch of high quality stuff that they enter in olive oil competitions, and then they wait a few weeks, 3-4 weeks or longer, and then produce in bulk because they've got buyers for that, right? So there are these certain farmers, those mentioned in Flow Soli, for example, that really have a lot of passion and care, and that really want to get this message out to the world. Like, these are families, and you've been in Spain, so I know, Christy, you've in the south of Spain, you've seen the massive hills just filled as far as you can see with olive trees. It's insane how many olive trees are in the south of Spain. They produce the vast majority of, I think 1/3 of the oil production is just like in that one region. But anyway, a lot of the families are getting away from selling their fruit at a very low quality, where they just let the fruit hang on the tree till it's completely ripe. They let the fruit fall to the ground. They come and vacuum it up. There's no harvest cost. a third, 3 times as much oil, and then they send it to a mill. They may or may not refine it. They do different things to make it pass certain test, and then they bottle it and sell it in bulk. They blend it with other countries. But there are certain families that have said, we don't want to have any part of that anymore. We have 100 acres. We want to take our land, our great grandfather's trees, and we want to make something really special, because there's so much information coming out about how special fresh olive oil is and high quality olive oil, that they want to, there's a market now, right? There's a small market of passionate people. So part of the club's mission is to educate palate. So that's what we do. We send out about 4,000 $1 bottles every quarter. And we do that. Yeah, it's a lot. Talking about shipping, it's expensive. But, people talk about the cost sometimes, and I think about a bottle of wine, right? I go to a restaurant. If I'm in a nice restaurant with Megan, I may spend like $30-$40 on a bottle of wine. I mean, it's restaurants, right? Well, I'll finish that in one meal, and it'll be over. It'll be game over, right? I've not wasted, but the money's essentially gone. I've spent that in an hour, 2 hours. Well, with a bottle of olive oil, if you use about a tablespoon a meal, this literally will last you a month. Like each one will last you a month. And that's how, really it's about $1 a day for olive oil. And really it'll change your cooking, and you'll have to buy less ingredients and less bottled stuff that's been, tampered with and everything else. Like it's just a way to streamline what you're doing.
That is so interesting. And I know that that I like that the certain farmers out there, the ones that you work with, do not want to take the easy way out. And I know that our rebels, we don't take the easy way out. We do the right thing for our health and for our bodies, just like those small family farmers say, hey, you know what? We're going to honor our product. We're going to honor our ancestry. We're going to honor our land. We're going to honor the product by enough to do the right thing and to harvest it where it's at its peakness, not where it's going to get the most bang for the buck. And that is remarkable. That fully lines up with what we believe. And TJ, thank you so much. Guys, you can get, and I'm going to put them in the show notes here, but you can get Code Red. You can go to coderedoliveoil.com, and if you get it through us and sign up with TJ and Megan through us, this money is going to go back into Code Red to help further develop the programs. It's going to help the TJ and Megan's family. It's going to provide a really great product for you guys. And TJ, any closing words for our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. So quick shopping tips. One, look for the harvest date on the oil. Most will just have a best before or a use by date. They try to hide the harvest date because they don't want you to know how old it is. So always look for a harvest date on the back of your bottle. Always buy in dark colored glass if possible, or a dark colored vehicle, because light, time, and temperature kill olive oil. So dark glass, look for harvest date, educate your palate, look for and go to a place that has high turnover of their oil. Go to a place where you can actually taste the oil prior to buying it, because A, you want to look for bitterness, 2, you want to look for spiciness, and 3, you want it to be fresh and harmonic and really flavorful. So educate your palate, step 1, and step 2, be a good consumer. Look for harvest dates, dark glass, high turnover, taste first. Like those are like some real key takeaways. If you're going to be out there in the murky world of olive oil, there were the New York Times just said the world of olive oil is murky. Here's help for the home cook. Don't try to parse every word on the label. The keys to good flavor are seeking out the freshest oil and using it generously. Olive oil should be poured lavishly and used up quickly. Experts say freshness, more than color, more than price, more than place of origin, determines its quality. That was the headline from the New York Times just like 2 months ago, and it
Look at
made my
that.
heart sing. Like, my mission's working. It's working. With people like you, Christy, are helping us get the word out. And it's, and the Wall Street Journal back on November 28th said, don't sleep on this game-changing ingredient. When it comes to olive oil, the younger, the better. Vibrant, flavorful oleo nuovo, which is what this is, it's fresh, new oil, is a pantry pick-me-up that you should purchase pronto. And that was a Wall Street Journal. So just a couple weeks ago. So, it's working. Like, what we're doing is really helping the farmers. It's really helping us get the health benefits we're looking for. So anyway, just a lot of gratitude and appreciation. If there's anything
this is a synergistic relationship, TJ. And we are so happy. Code Red does not partner with very many companies at all, maybe 3. And we're really thankful for this family-owned company, from our family-owned company to yours. And Rebels, now you can't unknow. So coderedoliveoil.com. I'll put the link in here. You guys, thank you so much, TJ. I almost said TJ.
Yeah.
I mixed TJ and have a good day.
I love it.
Thank you, TJ. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you guys.
Take care. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. If you're not subscribed already, please be sure to do that right now. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could do me a quick favor and rate and review this podcast. That would be just so helpful. Speaking of help, let me know if I can help you. Go to coderedlifestyle.com, check out my programs, and see what we can do for you. Until next time, Rebel on.